Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Matt Capper and this is the video on Watcher of Realms. We are trying something so off the wall, so bonkers. We're actually going to do a video while on the road via my tablet. So I apologize in advance if this is not good. It is not. I won't be able to edit this. This is a one-take wonder, and most of mine are one-take wonders. But this is going to be even more so because I can't even take out anything on this. I don't have any editing software. My laptop is not the kind of laptop you edit on. But I wanted to get a video out before I left for work on the road. Didn't get that done. So here we are. And we're going to do what I said I would never do. I said I was going to never do a should you summon video. But the reality is, why am I the only one in this scape that's not doing a should you summon video? I always liked Fastidious's. I think he does a great breakdown of the champions. But the reality is, everyone's doing it. I might as well get in on the fun. So why don't we talk about what's going on with events and whether or not you should be summoning on this crazy invocation, the Flame Skill invocation, the Divine Summoning, the Ancient Summoning, Shard Summoning, all the summonings. So what's happening? We need some preface. First off, there's a Flame Scale Frenzy. If you are trying to maximize your redeem shop ability here and trying to get everything on the shop, you may wish to summon. Why? Because there's likely going to be shards available in this Flame Scale Frenzy to spend. By shards, I mean whatever these things are. What are they called? Flame Scales. Of course they are. Flame Scale Frenzy. Why wouldn't they be? So if you do have Salazar or you plan on pulling this weekend for him, you do want his exclusive. It's available here. There's also some other good stuff here. What I would say is, unless you're die-hardened for that exclusive, maybe this, you might want the skill crystal, probably the rare crystals. This isn't exactly mind-blowing stuff available here. There's going to be an engraver's exhibition. There's summoning, of course, in the sign-in event of this. So why is that important? Well, because, and I don't know if I can get to the whole event breakdown here. Let's see if we can. There is... is there anything here? Update? Nope. Event? Yeah, so this right here is going to show you what you need. Now, for legendary champions, you're going to need 200 shards to be able to summon a free Maw. You have 285 available to you total. Plus, there's going to be some event winning. Each of the Oracle's trial, typically first place gives you 10. I have to assume that's going to be the same here. So you're looking at Arrival of Heroes, Vault in the Sands, Mystery of Artifacts, Arrival of Heroes 2, Forgotten Palace, Lost Legacy, and Awakening of Heroes. Those are going to have an extra 10 attached to them for winning first place. Now, that's not guaranteed. I have seen ones that are 5, so I don't know specifically. Maybe there's only, we'll say there's between 5 and 10 available there. But the most important thing is, if you were to not summon at all, you would lose out on 30, 50, 70 total shards. That means this event is doable without a single summon. So that's important to know. You don't have to summon in order to get Maw. That's important because if you're a collector or you want Maw or you think he's going to be cool, you don't need to summon. You might want to save. Normally, I'd say, why save? I think there's a good banner. We'll talk about the banner in a minute. But there's also a huge reality piece here, and that is the Leak Boys, as they call them, which, by the way, the Leak Boys sounds really weird. It sounds like they're like out in a farmer's field, 6 or 7 of them taking a piss. Like, hey, we're the Leak Boys. But anyway, hey, no disparaging to them. They do amazing work for Destined and for Fastidious afterwards. And obviously they do a lot of work to get us what's coming down the pipeline. There is so much amazing stuff coming down the pipeline. You may wish to save. If that's the case, good on you, save. You don't need it for Maw. You can skip this altogether. However, I will tell you that no banner is guaranteed to get the champion you want, but this banner is actually low-key amazing, and I think a lot of people are overlooking it. And I haven't watched anyone else's Should You Summon, but I know that encapsulated in their own little worlds, they think, oh, well, Trusk is okay. Salazar's kind of outscaled. Yeah, Pharisee's good. You don't really need him. But when you look at this, what is the content that we are pushing the hardest right now? And that is Titanic Ruins. That is Semiraw. That is Apocalypse. And what this banner has is some amazing Apocalypse 1 and even some Apocalypse 2 usability here. So let's talk about the champions available starting tomorrow, and this Flame Scale Invocation of Spirits, of which there'll be a 15-time drop rate for these champions. And that is, first off, Nazim. Nazim is a cheat code for Apocalypse 1. I don't believe he fully utilizes for endgame if you're trying to push, say, like that 80k Samurai 2 or Apocalypse 2. I think he gets outscaled, but definitely for progression into 2 and for getting the 30k in 1, I use him. I have used him. Nazim is amazing. Why is he amazing? Because his ultimate has an ability where he inflicts stun. It deals 140. So as you see here, to enemies who have been attacked at least 4 times during the ultimate, the blade deals 140% damage instead and inflicts stun. So once they've been hit 4 times, he just stuns Semra. Now, if you don't know, Semra's first form has that super blade, but every time you stun him, it reduces the incoming damage at the end of his little cycle and up to 12 times. This guy is freaking amazing for that. And if you see it, initial cost 1,400, a little expensive. However, you do see there's an damage increase required attack -1, which is nice. So it's attack 3 times. And with books, of course, you get that skill cost -200 down to 1,200. Plus, he gets an initial 700. So that first run, he's going to he'll have it up almost immediately. So that makes him, Nazim, very, very strong, especially if you have someone who can get rage back for him so that he has it up every time during that first form. He's a great champion. He's not underrated because I think people understand how good he is. So that's the first champion. The second champion, Scorch, not a big fan. I think this guy is just not good. We're not going to go over him. If you think he's good, let me know in the comments down below. I don't like him. I tried using him in faction trials. He's hot garbage. I don't understand why 4.8. I don't understand these ratings. But I gotta tell you, good tank. He's not a tank. He's a 2-hit wonder. He dies right away. So don't pay attention to him. But I will say, I have to do some testing on Komodo because looking at his kit, maybe his stats are a little bit low, and that's the reason why he's not quite there. Let's take a look at his stats here if we can. We can't. I can't look at him from here. That's fine. I think his stats might be a little low, but when you look at this, he has probably the best bleed in the game. Now, he's got deals 75% damage to 1 enemy 2 times. That's fine. He has his increased attack speed by 60 for 35 seconds. When attacking, inflicts bleed on target. So basically, this guy's got a guaranteed uptime on bleed when fully booked for 40 seconds on a 900 cost plus a 400 initial rage when booked. This is a very low downtime ultimate, which allows you to bring in bleed. Bleed's important because not only does it give pure damage, true damage against anyone, on top of that, it actually activates a reduced defense, and a lot of champions, a lot of high damage champions, trigger their damage on bleed. And we'll talk about that in a second. Why this guy I think is underrated. And I think when pairing this guy with another bleed champion, he can absolutely exponentially destroy or improve that champion's damage. And we'll talk about that when we get over to some of the other champions. And then he has this, each attack has a 15% chance to deal 230 damage. So this here, and of course he also has he has a multi-strike attack. It's pretty decent. I will say that this guy himself, I wasn't impressed with the damage, which is why I originally overlooked him. But I think that ability to put that bleed up is going to be very important. And let's talk about why. And we'll talk about that by looking at Salazar. Now, Salazar's been power crept. He used to be one of, if not the best champion for fighters anyway, in the game for the guild boss. Now, there's been a lot of champions come out, a lot of new kind of opportunities, exclusive artifacts on Hex, this sort of thing, which has kind of pushed Salazar down that totem. If you're a new player or even a mid-game player and you get Salazar, he's still going to be able to get you pushing towards that Nightmare 4 chest on the guild boss. I don't have him. I want him. But here's the thing. He's the one that has a 15% chance to inflict bleed. It's a 17% chance when fully booked. But he has an ultimate. He lands 6 strikes randomly on all targets in range, each dealing 220% damage and the last dealing 300% damage. Becomes immune to all damage when the skill is in effect, which is 2 seconds, and it actually, I believe, goes a little bit higher after that. And then here's the big thing is it guarantees crit hits on targets inflicted with bleed. So he can have a guaranteed crit hit with, I believe, a 1,000 cost with a 400 initial rage. No, actually, sorry, 900, because there's 2 bookings of it, level 2 and 4. Books reduce that skill cost by 100 each and give you initial rage by 100 each. 900 is pretty good. And that allows him to bring this thing where he's inflicting crit hits on targets inflicted with bleed. What that means is this is a champion that if you get his speed up, you get his rage regen really high, you actually don't have to build him with full crit because he's going to guarantee his crit on his ultimate. It's a little bit ticky-tacky because then he's not doing as much damage when he's not in his ultimate, but it allows you to get, obscene amounts of attack and crit damage, sacrificing crit rate in order to get these extra big burst damage hits. So it is definitely available there. But here's the thing, he has to have bleed. And his bleed is only a 15% chance. Now he's hitting a lot, a blitz of 6 strikes, so maybe he's going to land it. But he could not land it, except if you pair him with Komodo. Now Komodo's ultimate is going to guarantee bleed. So if you match up Komodo's bleed with Smashing Blitz, suddenly you have Salazar, who is guaranteed to crit no matter what he does. He will have those crits on that ultimate. And that's just one champion where I really see Komodo being better than I've initially thought. And I have to do more testing. That's something when I get home I'm going to want to test him with other bleed champions, especially if I pull Salazar this weekend, which I think I'm going to pull. Why not? You only live once. I can't get Arrogant, so why am I even waiting for his banner? So I might as well just pull, and maybe I'll get Salazar, maybe I'll get Arrogance this weekend. That's the way it works. So let's continue on with the rest of Salazar's kit. He also launches a basic attack on the enemy. It's passive, dealing 35% damage 2 times. The second attack will guarantee a crit hit if the target's inflicted with bleed. Here we go again. Then he's got Blessing of Dragon Blood. Restores 3% max HP for every 7 crit hits, which is guaranteed when the champion has bleed. So again, we're playing around this bleed, which makes even more sense that with Komodo, who can guarantee that uptime, would make Salazar that much better. I would say that if you don't have multiple bleed inflicting champions, I'd be very scared building this guy with no crit damage, or crit rate, because he's not guaranteed crit rate except for 15% of the time for 3 seconds. Bleed is a 3 or a 5 second. I should probably say 4 seconds. Of course it's in the middle. So a 4 second, right? Makes it a little bit more difficult. He also has a bond skill with Kineza, which increases his max HP by 20% for 5 seconds when the passive Blessing of the Dragon Blood is hit. That's kind of a nice combination skill. Kineza is not that exactly my favorite. I have her A5, and I don't use her. I probably should. At A5, I should find a home for her. But anyway, so Salazar, he has still been power crept a bit, but I would say that if you can guarantee that bleed, he's still an amazing champion to be able to put forth tons of burst damage when it's needed. Guild boss, but actually, more notably, Arena is where he really shines and being able to blitz out those ground target, single target champions from the side. He's not going to be able to tank damage the way you'd like, but he can definitely sit off the side. Plus, he's a Nightmare champion, which just fills out those strong Nightmare teams, which are still arguably, outside of maybe Arbiters, I would say even with Arbiters, I would personally say Nightmare's probably got the best, most well-rounded sets of teams that you can put together out there. Also keep in mind, if you have someone like Lust, you want to build a Nightmare team, this guy just fills that void, adds that 4th Nightmare champion into your roster. Now we'll talk about Trusk. Trusk is a newer champion, relatively so. This is his 2nd banner, I believe. And he's a defense-based damage champion. He's really good for the... codex, the one where each those little flaming things come in, you have to try to block them, and the reason for that is his ultimate, which actually, I say that his defense increases, which makes him more survivable. He's got a passive here. It was the passive Thorny Grasp, which is part of his ultimate. He pulls in an unblocked. He increases his defense by 10% and block by 1 until the ultimate ends. So that gives him an extra block. So he starts with 3. You put Bastion Ring on him. He gives him 4. During his ultimate, he actually has a block of 5. That can be a big deal when going for that triple S. I don't see much use for him out of that because even with good defensive-based damage, there's just not a ton of areas where defensive base damage does a lot. If you need burst damage, it's not going to be as good as the defensive damage. We don't have any triple S for purely from the damage sake. But the fact that this guy can deal damage while taking damage does make him an interesting prospect. I do like Trusk, don't love him, but I think he's really good on this banner. But I actually think he's the least of the three on this banner. I like Salazar, I like what Salazar can do, but my favorite on this banner is Pharisee. Pharisee, in my opinion, has gone from zero to hero. He's gone from someone in obscurity that no one talks about to being one of the best healers in the game for Titanic Ruins. Here's yet another champion very strong in Titanic Ruins. Here we have his AoE damage reduction to all allies in range. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. It starts at -5, and then you can see with levels it goes up to -25% total. That is huge. AoE damage reduction against Semra is god tier. This guy's going to be in all the top teams. He's one of the best champions in the game against Semras for healing. He pairs beautifully with Eloin. But that's not all. It wasn't just that. It also happens to be whenever an ally in range receives AoE damage, the received healing is increased by 10% for 10 seconds. This can be triggered one time every 40 seconds, and it can go up to 20% healing, and I believe it's 35 seconds, and for 12 seconds with books. So another one, great books, great value out of books on this champion. But if that weren't enough, his ultimate, which is manual, heals all allies in range one time with a 100% healing multiplier and applies a 15% inspiration to 3 allied units with the highest attack. His healing multiplier is a +40, inspiration effect +5, and skill cost -100, down to a crazy 800 skill cost, which is practically 100% uptime. Okay, maybe it's not, but it's very good uptime. Burst healing. This is all versions of Titanic Ruins. Look, if you're in a position where you're getting those poisons up, Eloin has to recycle to get her purge, for example. This guy can give that burst healing to keep those guys alive while other ticks are happening until you can get the purge, the cleanse, that sort of thing. So that makes him very strong with Eloin. Also with, I think it's Dasomi, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, the one who does the single target cleanse. Very strong, these two together, very strong healer. But on top of that, you can actually manipulate your team to ensure that inspiration is going to 3 allied units in range with the highest attack that aren't cycled with your main inspiration. So for example, in Titanic Ruins, Apocalypse 2, I use Constance, and Constance is my main inspiration champion, and so she's inspiring, giving increased attack and damage to my my best heroes in range. But I have a couple heroes that are out of range, and that is Hex, and that is whoever is with Hex. The names escapes me right now. So what I've done is I've actually switched it so those two have higher attack than the main damage dealing champions. I mean, they're all damage dealing champions, but for example, I use a couple of broken champions, Praetus, because I have a Praetus team. So Praetus will have the highest attack. It's just the way you build him, he's going to have a higher attack. But then Hex is number 2 because Hex is a slower turnaround on getting back to his ult because his ult lasts so long. So I'm actually able to put Hex as high attack and make sure I can use Pharisee and Hex together. And Pharisee will be able to use his ultimate twice to Hex's once, so it'll always be available. And I'll also have Pharisee up available if I need that burst healing to survive, to make him survivable. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I'm doing it justice, but I'm telling you right now, when you have Pharisee on the team, you're able to use that ultimate. You're able to build your team around that inspiration as a secondary form of inspiration, whether you're using Dolores or you're using the new champion that's coming out soon, Beelzebub or whatever the heck his name is, the bug guy, or whether you're using Constance. Pharisee's a great secondary because the reality is all your champions aren't on the same timers. And it's really frustrating when some of your champions are on perfect timers, like mine are with Constance, and others have to either hold off on their ultimate, which means I'm not doing as much, I'm not min-maxing my damage, or they're just going to do it without inspiration. Here's your middle gap. Pharisee is probably behind Eloin the best healer in the game for Titanic Ruins. Only Eloin would be better because she has that full cleanse, but also he elevates ones like Dasomi. I'll see if it is Dasomi because I don't want to lead you guys astray on the heroes that are in that world. Let's go to healers. And obviously Elwyn, like I said, number 1. Here's the other one. It was Dasomi. I got it right. So Dasomi's ability here is he has a single target. And I think it says passive. He grants magic incense. So if their HP is higher than 50%, dispels a debuff every 2 seconds. Otherwise, restores their HP based on their max HP. And the caster's attack every 2 seconds. So that magic incense is either going to cleanse for 6 seconds, so he's got 3 chances to cleanse on each time he heals one ally, and it can be different allies, which means he eventually dispels the whole team, or he's going to heal them up if they're below 50%. So great ability, but here you have the you have that double down where he's able to cleanse. You're able to use you're able to use Pharisee to help that survivability with that healing while you've got that single target cleanse. The reason why that cleanse is a little harder is because as you get higher up in levels, you're getting like 25 stacks of poison. You can't heal that quickly. Whereas with Pharisee is going to give that burst healing, which is going to allow Dasomi to get around and clear all those champions. That probably was the worst explanation of how it works, but I promise you I have done it, and it works really well. Not as good as Elwyn, but if you don't have Elwyn, perfect secondary option. Also, even Aelin and Dasomi work well together, Aelin and Pharisee work together very well. So to me, this is actually low-key one of the best banners out there, and I think it's going to be so underrated. I haven't watched the others, but I assume people are just going to be like, oh, it's not arrogance, it's not lust, it's not a new champion, it's a skip. For me, it's not a skip. Now, if you have these champions, or you don't need Titanic Ruins help, or the help with that defense-based Immortal Codex, then maybe this is a skip. Maybe that's an opportunity for you to say, okay, I'll save out. But if you need any help in Titanic Ruins, you've got Nazim here, you've got Salazar for both guild bosses and any Nightmare team. You've got Komodo, who I low-key think paired with another bleed champion is so strong, because all other bleed champions seem to be only 15% application, whereas he's sitting there with a guaranteed on ultimate. And of course Pharisee, who's the second best healer in my opinion in the game and everyone's going to have a different opinion, but my opinion, second best healer in the game for Titanic Ruins. What you have is a really strong banner to progress in one of the newest areas of the game that we're all trying to progress in. So, and just to give you an idea, I haven't done mine for this week yet. It's going to be a tight turnaround for me, but let's take a look at some of the champions you have here. Oh, look. What do you have but a Pharisee, the top one in our guild, hitting 145k using Pharisee. Oh, what's that? Our number 2? Look at that. Lo and behold, using Pharisee. Now, what you'll see is, oh, look, there's a Salazar on the top team. Second team, Salazar. This is going to be a common. Now, if we push down further, we should... Oh, this is Titanic Ruins, so you're probably not going to see the other champions. If we go to Apocalypse 1 here, we'll probably see... Nazim. Yeah, see, there you go. You're going to start seeing Nazim in teams here. So these champions on this banner are going to be here. And if you think, oh yeah, but that's you guys are awful. Oh, look, the number 1 damage so far at 299,000. What do you see? Oh, look, it's a Salazar. Huh, go figure. Oh, look, it's a Pharisee. These 2 champions are, and here, look, even this, number 2, there's a Nazim. These champions, oh, look, there's a Salazar. These champions are the champions people are using to put up top scores in this game. So you think this banner's a skip? I think you're wrong. I say pull. Pull if you're early, mid, late, end game. Pull for multiple copies. Pull for your mother. Pull for your brother. Pull for Fastidious's mother. She works hard. She works hard for keeping him out of trouble. So I think she deserves it. That's all I have for you. This is my best impersonation of Destined. I don't even have a wolf head. It's embarrassing. But hopefully this was a good video for you. I want to thank you for watching. Please be kind, be safe. Pull your heart out. I'm going to pull my shards. And we'll see you in the next video.